Hello, everyone, and welcome to Optimus Fantasy Football, your home for all of the fantasy football, DFS, and betting information you need to set a winning lineup. I'm Nate Polvogt, joined by my co-host, the one and only, the moneymaker, Mr. Mike Reedy, to give you all the best plays for our Week 4 DFS slates. Mike, it's a pleasure to be here with you again this Friday. How are you doing today?
Doing well. What I was telling you I was going to complain about, and you'll understand because you have glasses. I need reading glasses now because I'm getting old. My reading glasses right here have a small, tiny scratch I can't see right here in the center of my eye. I can only see it looking through it to read. And I'm just like, oh man, this is the most annoying thing ever. Now I know why people complain about this stuff. It's first time for me.
My favorite sunglasses got a scratch right in the middle. They're my driving sunglasses. And yeah, no, it's brutal. And it doesn't look like anything on the outside. You look at it and you can barely find it, but then it's right there in your eye.
I would need glasses and a magnifying glass probably to find this because I can't see it at all. And I've used other glasses to look. And it's this little tiny scratch, but it's right in the middle of my eye.
Oh, no, that's the worst. Well, hopefully we'll get through this show without any issue, Mike. Hopefully it doesn't drive you too crazy. But if you throw your computer, I think we'll understand at this point.
Fantasy's been good this year, so I won't throw my computer. I was tempted last season when it was bad, but this year
many times. And there were times earlier in this season where I've been tempted, especially when it comes to quarterback, which, Mike, is the first position we are going to cover today. Of course, I want to start with your picks. You went a little highbrow with two of them and then really down to the bottom with your third here. We're going to start with Josh Allen against the New Orleans Saints, $7,700 on DraftKings, $9,000 on FanDuel. Then we have got Justin Herbert up against the New York Jets, $6,300 on DraftKings, $7,900 on FanDuel. And here's where we get lowbrow, Mike, and this is what I want to talk about first here. Joe Flacco against the Detroit Lions, DraftKings 4,700, FanDuel 6,500. Flacco's an interesting choice here because this is a bad offense against a good defense.
It's a bad offense against a good defense with a guy who hasn't produced much this year. So why? Why, Reedy? Why the hell would you say Joe Flacco? Here's why. Every single quarterback that's played against the Detroit Lions this season has passed for 2 touchdowns. 2. So I'm not looking at this as if Flacco's going to get you 25 fantasy points. I'm looking at this as if you want to pay down somewhere. Flacco's probably going to get you to 15 fairly easily without even being better than anybody else has been against the Detroit Lions defense. If he can just do what the other 3 quarterbacks have done, he'll get 2 touchdowns. So I honestly think he's going to get 2. Everybody else has, and they haven't played against all juggernaut quarterbacks so far this season. I like a couple of I like a tight end in the passing game that we'll talk about later on as well that's tied to Joe Flacco. But I think he can throw for 2. I think he can get you that magic 15 to 20 points out of his position, and you can pay up somewhere else if you want.
Yeah, I like this call. If you're going to get at least you know that he has a safe floor against Detroit and you can pay up other places. I like the call on Flacco.
Tournament play, right?
Yep,
Tournament
exactly. Play. Tournament play. Now, Josh Allen, this is the highbrow choice here. He is the most expensive quarterback on the slate right now, Mike. However, they're up against a putrid New Orleans defense. I think he's worth the $7,700 on DraftKings. I think he's worth the $9,000 on FanDuel. I think this is a good call.
If you're going to go all the way up, and I like the song and I like to say it all the way up, Josh Allen's great this week, right? He's already passed for 5 touchdowns. He's ran for 2 more. The Saints give up the 8th most fantasy points to opposing teams' quarterbacks. So he's set up for big-time success here, right? And if the luminaries that have come before him can each do very well against the Saints this year, meaning Mac Jones, Kyler Murray, and Sam Darnold, I'm 100% sure that he can also have multiple touchdowns against the Saints since all 3 of those guys did.
Yeah, I'm with you on this, and I think he's worth the cash. He's not a guy I'm stacking with anyone, really. Might be mildly tempted to stack him with Dalton Kincaid, maybe. But outside of Well, James Cook, yeah. James Cook is a guy that I want to play this week, but we'll get to those running backs here in a minute. Now, your last play here, Justin Herbert, he showed out against a good Denver defense. He has played really well this season. He is a little bit of a step down cost-wise, 6,300 versus a 7,700 on DraftKings and then 7,900 on FanDuel. This is a good value for a guy that you actually have a lot of stacking options for this week.
My favorite play out of the three, by the way, is Justin Herbert. He's passed for either 300 yards and or multiple touchdowns in every single game this year. Okay, so when he didn't make it to 300 yards, he had multiple touchdowns. And one game he only had one touchdown, but he had 301 yards or something like that, right? They throw the ball a lot, 108 passes this season from Justin Herbert. I like that. The passing tree is kind of big, so we'll talk about that as we get on, but that's good for him, right? He passes the ball to three different wideouts. They take up 60-something% of the targets between the three of them, close to 70% of the targets. And Omarian Hampton was heavily involved last week. I know against a crappy team, but also in the passing game, he can catch the ball and he does something with it when he catches it. And they're playing the Giants. The Giants give up the 10th most fantasy points to opposing teams' quarterbacks. So this is a great play because you know he's going to throw the ball. I know it's the infamous 1 p.m. game across the country, whatever, but it's too good of an option to pass on for me. I'll be playing some Justin Herbert in a lot of spots.
I feel like if you're someone who's building multiple lineups, you've got to toss Justin Herbert in some of them, and then look at some of these stacking opportunities that we'll get to later. I mean, you mentioned Omarian Hampton with Najee Harris out. Obviously, that's a massive bump for him. I think it's going to be good all around for this team this week. Again, like we said, they're playing the Giants. We're not going to see Hassan Haskins take a lot of work, I wouldn't believe, from our Omarian Hampton. So should be a good week for this Chargers team, DFS and otherwise, Mike. Now, my picks are on the other side here. I went pretty lowbrow with about everyone I picked. The first one was Caleb Williams at Las Vegas, 5,800 on DraftKings, 7,500 on FanDuel. We have Drake Maye against Carolina, $5,500 on DraftKings, $7,100 on FanDuel, and then Geno Smith against the Chicago Bears, the other side of that Caleb Williams matchup, $5,400 on DraftKings and $7,200 on FanDuel. I think we're all coming around on Caleb Williams, Mike. He's QB3 right now, and I don't see this stopping, whether they're winning or not.
I don't either. We called it out last week, too. We thought he was going to have a big week, and he did. I have him in my late slate article, by the way, as well. I think he's going to have an exceptionally good week again this week. You can stack him with somebody also. I like the call. I think we're looking at another multiple touchdown week for him.
Well, and he's inexpensive in relation to the rest of the slate here. You're getting him for $5,800 on DraftKings. Less expensive, Drake Maye against the Carolina Panthers. It's not that I love Drake Maye, Mike. It's that I like this matchup, and I think some people are a little scared off of it because of what Carolina did to Michael Penix last week. But I want everyone to remember Drake Maye is a much better quarterback than Michael Penix, folks.
He is. He's much better. I think people should be a little bit nervous. The Carolina Panthers defense looked pretty good. I don't like the quarterback. Drake Maye, this is a case of, we'll get to when we talk defenses. You can play this quarterback and play the defense going the other way and get what you want out of both, right?
Yep. Well, and because you've got that rushing upside with Maye. He had 7 carries for 45 yards last week against I'm not going to say good Pittsburgh defense, but a serviceable Pittsburgh defense. So I like the rushing upside.
If they stopped using baby oil in the warm-ups, I would appreciate the Patriots a little bit more right now. Everything's just falling out of their hands all over the place. It's a little ridiculous. But I always think Drake Maye's a good play this year. He's just producing.
Yep. Nothing super exciting about him. I like the cost, and I like that he's been producing. That's how I feel about my next guy too, Geno Smith. We had one rough week. Smith did not look good. However, he has looked much better since. Right now, he's QB 12. He had 32 fantasy points last week, 218 yards and 3 touchdowns against the Bears. It's against the Bears. And the Bears defense hasn't been that good. And I think Geno Smith will exploit that. Brock Bowers is healthy. Trey Tucker is starting to gain a role in this offense, which is strange as hell to me, but it's what's happening. Austin Jonty's going to get going eventually. I think
And
Geno Smith, this is a good matchup for Geno Smith this week.
I think so too. Excellent matchup. Price is right. He's a really, really good play this week.
Yep.
The Bears defense is susceptible. I don't have it in front of me. I had what's been done to them as well.
It's
They've
not
been
good.
pretty much abused every single week, so it's a good play. I like it a lot.
They're the only defense that made JJ McCarthy look good, Mike. And only for a quarter, but still.
It's pretty hard to do.
All right, folks, we are going to move on to the running back position here on the Optimus DFS show. Mike, I want to start out with some of my running backs. I like yours better. Mine are a little bit more expensive here, at least one of them. I'm leaning on Christian McCaffrey this week against Jacksonville, the most expensive running back on the slate. $8,500 on DraftKings, $9,300 on FanDuel. I've got Bucky Irving against the Philadelphia Eagles, $6,900 on DraftKings, $7,300 on FanDuel. And then my low play out of my three is Quinshon Judkins of the Cleveland Browns at the Detroit Lions, $5,900 on DraftKings, $6,300 on FanDuel. And I know we already talked about this is a bad offense against a good defense, but Quinshon Judkins is just phenomenal. He was a workhorse last week. He's going to be a workhorse this week.
He's great.
I just want him for the volume. Plain and simple. I just want him for the volume.
And that's all we need, right? We want the volume touches. We're not saying the Browns are going to win. We're just
God, no.
going to get some fantasy points out of the matchup.
Yeah, 18 carries for 94 yards last week. He had a touchdown against a good Green Bay defense.
Very good defense. Yes.
Very good defense against Micah Parsons. So I'm not scared. And really at the price right now, $5,900, again, you can spend up on other players who will cost more and might not score as many points as Judkins does this week. I feel similarly about Bucky Irving. He's $6,900, so about 1,000 more against Philly. But I think he's just become such a big part of this offense, and we've seen Rachaad White fade. Tampa Bay is one of those teams where I'm less concerned about matchups in any format because this offense just goes.
He's catching the ball out of the backfield a lot this season as well.
Yep.
And there's the Philadelphia's defense is good, but they're susceptible to that running back catching the ball out of the backfield. That's where he'll probably do more damage this week because he's kind of doing everything right now for them.
Yeah, Rachaad White's faded, which has hurt me in some of my redraft leagues.
He was hurt all off season, so like I have him as a hold on some teams still where I have deep benches because I know he's not all the way back. We'll see what happens later in the season.
And he's gotten some short yardage work, which is encouraging. So I think Rachaad White will be back to something. I mean, maybe like back into RB3 flex most of the time, but he'll be something at some point. But Bucky Irving is the guy I want on this slate. And then, Mike, I went with the high-price guy, Christian McCaffrey. Again, this is matchup. It's against Jacksonville, $8,500 on DraftKings. I'm okay with spending up on McCaffrey because I'll be spending down other places like maybe Joe Flacco, a quarterback, or any one of the running backs I've named here, Judkins especially. Like, you can really pay down and get some of these higher-priced guys.
Well, when we get to receiver, there's a whole bunch of guys you can pay down for that producing high. I love this. Only two guys in the entire league, two players in the league have more receptions right now than Christian McCaffrey. And that's Puka Nacua and Jake Ferguson. That's it. If he was either a tight end or a wide receiver, he would be second in receptions in either category. He doesn't, I don't think he surpassed 100 yards yet rushing. I think he has a 97-yard game, but he's just doing so much of everything that he's Christian McCaffrey, right? Like he's having a great season and I'm happy to see it. I would pay up for him as well. He's a guy I have a target on this week too.
He has almost 400 total yards so far this season between rushing and receiving.
It's crazy.
They had 15 targets last week. He's just a guy. If he's playing like this, I'm going to pay up for him every week because there aren't down weeks. There aren't defenses that are just built to stop a guy like Christian McCaffrey. So. All right, Mike, let's get into your running backs. We have talked about a couple of these guys already, but I want to roll through them real quick here. James Cook against the New Orleans Saints, $7,100 on DraftKings, $8,500 on FanDuel. We've got Omarian Hampton up against the New York Giants, DraftKings $5,900, $7,000 on FanDuel. And Tony Pollard up against the Houston Texans, $5,600 on DraftKings, $6,200 on FanDuel, Mike. I want to know more about this Tony Pollard call because they're up against a Houston defense. It's been good-ish, and I don't love Tennessee, I don't love
I
Tony
hate
Pollard,
them.
especially in this offense.
I'm not a huge fan of Pollard. I'm not a huge fan of the offense. I am a huge fan of a defense that's allowed 4 different running backs to score a touchdown against them so far this season. So if you're going to do something crazy like pay up for Josh Allen and pay up for Christian McCaffrey, and you want, like, say, a cheap flex, you can throw Tony Pollard out there. It's a good matchup. I'm not saying he's going to get you 20 points. I am saying the Titans need to give him the ball more because they suck at passing the ball right now. And this is a defense where even though they're a good defense and I like them, they're better against the pass than they are the run. Tony Pollard has a chance at punching one in. And at his price point, I think that's nice if you want a pay down option, right? He can punch one in. He probably gets you 10 points easy, maybe 15. It's a nice play for a cheap spot in a cash lineup or even in a tournament where this guy could give you some production. He hasn't been bad, by the way, this year. I just think the offense is lousy.
That offense is terrible, very lousy. But I mean, I can see here the reasoning this, and I'll probably plug Pollard in some places. Why not?
They're giving up a lot of touchdowns to running
Yep.
back so far. So
and 5,600. 5,600
right.
is a good price. Yep.
And
really
it
good
allows
price.
you to pay up other places. And if you're going to smash with some really high priced guys, like, say, McCaffrey, Josh Allen, Nakua, all guys I think are going to be good this week, you can pay down here and make it work.
Yep. Another guy you can pay down with, he's $300 more. Omarian Hampton against the New York Giants. We talked about it a little bit before. This is a guy who Hassan Haskins is his competition for volume, and that's not really competition at this point. I love it. I'm starting him in redraft. I am trying to acquire more of him in Dynasty, and I'll be firing him up in a lot of slates in DFS this weekend.
This is a great spot, right? The Giants give up the 4th most fantasy points to opposing teams' running backs. This guy is both involved in the passing game and obviously the only real runner running the ball. He had 70 yards and a touchdown rushing last week, 7 targets, 6 receptions, and 59 yards. So he's involved all over the place against a defense that is kind of defenseless. So I like him. I mean, he's somebody who's going to cost a lot more in 4 weeks than he does now. Get him in there while you can before you have to pay up.
Well, and I think this is a situation where in the first half we see Herbert go off with his receivers, and they're up so much by the time we get to the second half. Third quarter, fourth quarter, we're going to see a lot more of Hampton on the ground and maybe some more short passes to him as well. So, like I said, I love this play. He's a guy I'm firing up all over the place. And your last guy, James Cook, he's a little bit higher up. I'm surprised he's not priced higher, honestly, at 7,100 on DraftKings.
That's why he's here. He should be way up at the top by now, I would think. He's one of the top running backs in the league, fantasy-wise. So the Saints are up. They have given up a touchdown to every single lead running back. So 3 touchdowns in 3 games to the lead back, not to some second fiddle guy, not to some receiving back. They're also susceptible against the pass to running backs, right? So James Cook's involved kind of in both areas. The Saints appear to be good against the run, but this is where they're susceptible to running backs. If they're pass catching lead backs, they tend to do some damage against them. I think James Cook is unstoppable right now. And if you wanted to pay up, this is the guy I would pair with Josh Allen because you're probably going to see him catch a touchdown this week.
Yeah, well, week 1 against Baltimore, he had 5 catches, turned that into 58 yards. He only had the 1 target against the Jets, but against Miami, he had 3. He had 10 yards. I think we're going to see this is going to be
balls against the Jets, right? It's game script for him. And
Yep. Well, and this feels like a game script where they will throw him the ball a little bit more. So I really love this call, especially at the price, Mike. I think this is a really good one. All right, now, folks, we are going to move on to the wide receivers. Mike, let's highlight your picks here first because I love yours a lot more than mine. As always, you got into the sheet first. You stole a couple of my guys, and it's fine. We got to give the people a lot of options here, though. The first one is Quinton Johnston of the Los Angeles Chargers against the New York Giants. 5,500 on DraftKings, 6,200 on FanDuel. We've got Odunze up against the Las Vegas Raiders. On DraftKings, he is 6,300. On FanDuel, 7,200. Then finally for Mike's picks, we've got Jacoby Myers against the Chicago Bears. 5,400 on DraftKings, 6,100 on FanDuel. I want to start with Odunze. He's a guy who, when I was speaking of stacking with Caleb Williams, this is the guy.
Oh God, this is such a great year for him, right? Last year was kind of tough. I thought it would be. People got mad at me. I thought he'd be good this year because they cleared the slate in front of him, right? No more Keenan Allen, and he has taken over. 27 targets, 16 receptions, 227 yards, and 4 touchdowns so far. Last week, we kind of thought he'd have a bigger week than he did against the Cowboys. He scored a touchdown. He did well. I expected a bigger day because it was the Cowboys, but they spread the ball around well, which was better for the Bears offense to do, right? It was smart. This week they're up against the Raiders. The Raiders give up the 4th most fantasy points to opposing teams' wide receivers. So the slot just keeps being good for him, right? Like he just keeps getting defenses that you can throw the ball against 2 wide receivers. I think you're gonna see him catch another touchdown this week. I mean,
yeah. I think this is a week. I think this is more along the lines of the Detroit game. 11 targets, 7 catches, 128 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I love Odunze this week. I love this matchup for Chicago. Vegas is just such a middle of the road team, middle of the road defense. I think this might actually be kind of a high scoring game because, again, neither one of their defenses can stop anything. So,
he also has 28% of the target share, which I failed to mention, right? Which is pretty massive when you figure out a team with DJ Moore. He's really got the volume going. I like the matchup too. I think this is a great smash play.
It is. It definitely is. The next one I want to talk about, Mike, another, I think, phenomenal stacking opportunity against the New York Giants, Quinshon Judkins. And he's only 5,500 right now on DraftKings. Really low priced. I don't understand it. I kind of do. I think a lot of like the Vegas people and the odds makers and the salary makers for like DraftKings and FanDuel are looking at this like this isn't sustainable.
With the 3 wide receivers producing?
And specifically Quinshon Judkins. I think everyone mostly assumes that if one of them is going to fall off, it's going to be QJ. I can't argue with that. But I also don't think any of it's going to fall off. So,
again, we're talking about them playing the Giants again. You know how the Giants have been beaten by wide receivers this season? Pretty consistently, too. Over the top. That's what Quinshon Judkins does. I know he might drop a pass here and there, right? But he has 22% target share. Pretty similar to Keenan Allen. And then Ladd McConkey's like right behind them. I can't pass up on this matchup over the top on the Giants with QJ. Like, I would just be surprised if he doesn't have another big game. So the price is right too, 5,500. I'm not afraid to play Keenan Allen or Ladd McConkey in this game either, by the way. Like, the options there for all 3 to have good games. They've done it a couple of times this season already. Ladd seems to be odd guy out, and he's still not bad. He's just not crazy good. Yeah.
I think it'll come back for Ladd. He was such a big part of this offense last season. And with Quinshon Judkins taking a step up, obviously, that's going to hurt him. Having Keenan Allen back for the season is going to hurt him this season. So, but I'm not worried. I'm not playing him in DFS this week, but I'm not worried. Now, your last pick, we're staying within the division here. We've got Jacoby Myers of the Las Vegas Raiders. Another low-priced-ish option. Well, no, low-priced option. 5,400 on DraftKings, 6,100 on FanDuel. But again, it's against the Chicago secondary, and we already talked about Geno Smith. This is a really cheap stacked where now you can get guys like Christian McCaffrey.
A little game theory here too, because everybody else is going to go Trey Tucker. They all are. They're going to chase the last week's fantasy points. This guy has seen the most targets on the team. The Bears give up the 3rd most fantasy points to wide receivers. It's a great matchup. I will plug. He's on a lot of my season-long teams, so he's in the lineup because the matchup's great. I like Jacoby Myers a lot to catch a lot of passes this year, and I think the volume's going to consistently stay there throughout the year. I mean, even last week when everybody went crazy about Trey Tucker's, if you look, Jacoby Myers did not have a bad game then either.
No, I like Jacoby Myers in this offense. 10 targets and 12 targets the first 2 games.
Yeah.
And yeah, people are going to chase Trey Tucker's, which is why I'd be more prone to go after Jacoby Myers. Trey Tucker feels like he's going to be a little bit chalk this week. And I don't think the chance that happens again with Trey Tucker is slim to none. Like, if we're being honest, come on.
Last year, I know we talked about him on the waiver wire show we did,
Yep.
right? And he flashed a couple of games and then he just vanished. And you may very well see that again. I know it's a different quarterback, but you might see that again. That's what he does. He's a nice little player. He's not consistent.
Nope. No, he's it'll always go back to Gabe Davis and Hollywood Brown for me, because that's what those guys are too. They play a great role, and when the game script and situation dictates it, these guys will go off, but they're not going off every week.
Boom and bust.
Boom and bust.
I like to let other people draft those guys, so I beat them when they bust.
Me too. I like winning. So, and now, speaking of winning, Mike, let's get to my wide receiver picks. Not as good as yours, but I'm going to stand by these guys. I went real low cost with a couple. Emeka Egbuka was not one of them. DraftKings 7,000 on FanDuel. Then I've got Keenan Allen up against the Giants, 5,300 on DraftKings, 6,500 on FanDuel. And my last wide receiver, Emeka Egbuka, against the Houston Texans. He is 3,900 on DraftKings, $5,400 on FanDuel. Mike, I want to start with the rookie, Emeka Egbuka. He has emerged as Cam Ward's favorite target. I know Calvin Ridley's there. I know that we don't like this offense, but if I'm going to target a receiver in this offense most weeks, it's going to be Emeka, because he's just seeing the volume and the trust from Cam Ward as well.
Such a hot item to talk about in the fantasy community. Everybody's all over this one. I haven't talked about him much because everybody else did. He's very good. Again, I don't like the offense, so I didn't go at him on season-long teams. I think this is a good place to play him as well, right? Like I don't think Houston's a very good team overall.
No.
So this game will probably be closer than people think. And though we named the only 2 guys I want to play in the offense here, though we named them both.
Yes.
That's it.
Now, and a lot of this for me is opportunity versus cost. $3,900 on DraftKings is basically nothing. And if he scores a touchdown,
winning.
Yeah, he's got to. Yeah, winning.
Yep.
Funny you say winning. We just watched the AKA Charlie Sheen documentary. Finished it last night. If you're on the fence about something to watch this weekend, actually check it out. It's really good.
All right.
Really good. Really surprising look at his life, and it explains a lot. And you're like, oh, I feel really bad about getting all excited about the Tiger Blood stuff now. It just made me feel like a real POS for thinking that was a fun time. But I shouldn't have been surprised. Right?
He hasn't had fun times in his adult life.
No, he has not. Who has had a lot of fun times, especially lately, Mike? Keenan Allen, $5,300. This is another lower end play, but Keenan Allen is producing in this offense. He's back home with the Chargers. He's back home with Justin Herbert. I'm going to keep playing him until the wheels fall off. I don't know if that happens this season. And then the opportunity to stack him with Herbert is beautiful this week.
I love this. I would have mentioned him if I didn't go QJ, by the way, because same. Probably 10 targets again this week or 11.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that seems to be consistently what he's getting. And he's one of my favorite fantasy plays, has been his whole career. So I'm super happy to see him producing again.
Yeah, I mean, he's got 28 targets through 3 games. And I'm not that shocked, I suppose. The 11 targets against Denver last week, I think we talked about that last week. I played him because he's a Bronco killer, man. It's what he has done his whole career. And there's a part of me that feels like he knows this is it. Like, this is his last season of real productivity and really being able to contribute to an NFL offense. And they've got a good team, and he wants to make a run. So I also like making runs. And I'm going to ride him through this one because I think he is definitely worth a play at cost.
I like that. I like to play a lot. Yeah. I like the next one too, by the way. It's tough to do. Everybody.
Oh, you can't hate Emeka Egbuka, Mike. Even against the Philly defense, which has been good, not great. 6,800. He's my highest priced wide receiver. I know there's chatter about Chris Godwin coming back this week. I'll believe it when I freaking see it.
Mike
He
Evans
practiced
isn't playing though, anyways. So
right.
the volume will be there
Well,
no matter what, right?
well, and that's the difference. The difference there is if Godwin doesn't play, Emeka Egbuka's ceiling's wide receiver 1 this week.
Yeah.
In a
Great.
heavy passing volume offense. I don't care who they're playing, like I was saying earlier with Bucky. I'm all over Emeka at cost this week.
Great play. He's just,
Yep.
man, Baker Mayfield trusts him a lot.
And if Baker Mayfield trusts him, it's like how we feel about Cade Otton in the situations where we start seeing a lot of tight end work, which he's not a guy I have on my tight ends. Dang it, maybe should have. That might be a missed opportunity. Yeah, I don't know that I love the matchup though.
The matchup's
So,
bad. I don't like the matchup.
All right, folks, we are going to now get into our tight end plays for this week 4 DFS slate. Mike, let's roll through yours first here. I love all of your picks. Hunter Henry this week. Dude, New England, just insane. $4,000 on DraftKings, $5,500 on FanDuel for the overall tight end 1 right now. Travis Kelce against the Baltimore Ravens, $4,800 on DraftKings, $6,100 on FanDuel. And then Brenton Strange, $3,200 on DraftKings, $5,100 on FanDuel up against the San Francisco 49ers. Mike, I want to start with your boy Hunter Henry over there in New England. He's just been an absolute volume hog.
He's had one down game. He's had 2 up games. He was a top 10 tight end last season as well for season long. People seem to always go away from him for some reason. I don't know why. The volume seems to be there as long as he's been in New England. He gets that volume. The Panthers are susceptible to the tight end, by the way, as well. I'm not expecting a massive game. Like, you can't expect last week's score again this week, right? For
No.
Hunter Henry. But, again, this is a floor game. So, look for, I don't know, 15 points or so and be happy with it with Hunter Henry here. He could give you a ceiling game, as I said, because the Panthers, they give up the 8th most fantasy points opposing teams tight ends. So they don't defend a position well. But you just can't go into every week expecting what last week's production was. So I wouldn't expect that.
Like Trey Tucker.
Yeah.
That great week, 29 PPR points for Henry. But you know what? Like you said, Mike, I'm happy with that floor of 12 to 15 points. I will take that out of my tight end. And especially when you're almost certain you're going to get it out of him. One I'm a little bit more nervous about, but I don't mind the price. Again, with most of these tight ends, I'm not going to mind the price here. Travis Kelce of Baltimore, $4,800 on DraftKings. He had a kind of a down week last week, but overall, Kelce's been producing this season. I think this is a good matchup this week, Mike. I like him against Baltimore. I think this is going to be a tough game.
I was going to say, literally the reason why I have him here is his price is not very high. He plays big in big games. It's a must-win game for both teams.
Yep.
And I think Mahomes will look for him, at least in the red zone, because he trusts him. Overall, Kelce looks close to being washed to me. Like, he looks slow. He looked kind of slow most of last season, too. Maybe he was saving himself for the playoffs, and maybe he's doing that again this year, managing his body, whatever. But this is a big game. This guy comes up in big games. Not that I think the Ravens defense defends tight ends great or poorly. I just think that big game guys step up in big games, must win. I think you can expect to see something out of him this week because of that.
Yep. I agree. Yep. Last one, Brenton Strange. This price is even more beautiful, $3,200. Not a lot to be excited about with Jacksonville, but Brenton Strange is starting to see a little bit of an uptick, and he's turning more into that maybe hyper-focused tight end for Trevor Lawrence, maybe over the next couple of weeks. But this matchup specifically for me feels like one where we're going to see Brenton Strange get like 5, 6, 7, 8 targets because they're playing San Francisco and because this offense sucks.
And the Niners actually defend tight ends pretty good, but one thing they have done each of the last 2 games is they've allowed a tight end to score a touchdown against them. With that in mind, and the fact that the wide receivers on the Jaguars have been putrid, I would expect Brenton Strange to be the guy who has that opportunity this week. His targets are going up. He's got the Evan Ingram role. Yeah. It didn't work out it doesn't always work out that way, right? You plug this guy into that role and it takes off. But there's no way Trevor Lawrence can be trusting his wide receivers right now. They're not producing. They're dropping balls. They're not even trying to catch them. Strange is going to catch them if they're thrown his way. And again, the price is so cheap.
Yes, and the thing I like about Brenton Strange too is he's more of a short to intermediate target guy, and those are throws that I actually think Trevor Lawrence can make most of the time. So I trust him, and I don't think this is a BTJ problem. I think this is a Trevor Lawrence problem. The talent for BTJ is there. Trevor Lawrence is just
bad.
He's cheeks, man.
Yeah,
awful.
He's very bad.
Nope. All right, guys, let's get on to my tight ends here, and then we'll get to a few defenses and get you on your way to get your DFS lineups locked down. I went with a tight end that I didn't think I was going to love as much as I do, Mike. Tyler Warren of the Indianapolis Colts up against the Rams this week, $4,600 on DraftKings, $5,800 on FanDuel. I've got Mark Andrews against the Chiefs, kind of the same thing as with Travis Kelce here, $4,300 on DraftKings, $5,300 on FanDuel, and then the aforementioned tight end out of Cleveland that we were going to talk about, Harold Fannin at the Detroit Lions, $3,700 on DraftKings, $4,800 on FanDuel. Mike, let's start with Harold Fannin.
I like this call, by the way. I have him. I didn't do a write-up on him, but I have him as one of the other tight ends you might want to consider. The price point's right. The snap count hasn't changed. Like you and I said, it wouldn't after week 1 when people thought he'd vanish. He's getting a fair share of passes thrown his way. So is David Njoku, but they're running a lot of 12. And you can throw to the tight end against the Lions defense. So I like this. You're not going to, well, not that they throw a lot of balls to their wide receivers. Lions defend that well. The tight end and the running back are the only places I want to play against the Lions right now. And I like Fannin. I don't know. He just seems to be useful. Maybe Njoku's getting more coverage because he's a freak athlete. I don't know what it is, but I would play Fannin out of the two. And again, the price is incredibly right, which allows you to pay up other places.
Well, and it should be noted, excuse me, Njoku was a limited participant in practice on Wednesday. We haven't heard any word of where he's at right now as of recording time, but that bumps Fannin up for me. And really, $3,700 is nothing.
No Njoku, I'll play Fannin everywhere because I think the matchup's good.
Yep. And even if he does play, I feel like they're going to limit his workload this week. If he's nursing an injury, he was limited in practices. I feel like this will be a heavier Fannin volume week. Now, I do believe we're going to see more volume for this guy too, Mark Andrews. This goes back to what you said about Travis Kelce. This is a big game for both of these teams. It is almost a must win early in the season for both of these teams. Big players show up in big games. I'm just trusting that Mark Andrews shows up in this game.
He would be my choice as a receiver on that team. Like I shy away from their wide receivers because the way they spread the ball around. With injured guys coming back onto the field, it's freed up Andrews a little bit more. I would say that lots of people in the fantasy community don't pay attention to some of that stuff, just like they don't pay attention to offensive line and play calling. And Andrews responded with a big game last week, like really big game. Now, whether he'll do that again, I don't know. But I know when you're looking to win to stay alive and you're 1-2 and you don't want to go to 1-3 because your playoff hopes will be going down the drain.
Yep.
You can expect them to go to trusted resources. You're going to see a lot of Andrews, Henry, Lamar Jackson doing what they do to try to win this game. That's going to be a fun to watch.
It's going to be a really fun game. It'll be even more fun for me if the Chiefs lose, though, Mike. That's come on, 1-3. Woo! That'd make this Denver Broncos lifelong diehard fan very happy. But I promise it does not affect my analysis, and I'll prove it to you. Tyler Warren, I love him this week. $4,600 on DraftKings, $5,800 on FanDuel, as we mentioned. Up against the Rams, he shredded my Denver Broncos. It made me really sad. He had 7 catches for 79 yards against Denver. This guy's for real, though, Mike. He's going to become a focal point, and he already is becoming a focal point of this offense for Daniel Jones. This matchup against the Rams, this is a game I do believe this team can win, but they're going to need to throw the ball to Tyler Warren. I see this being around a 10 target game is what I'm projecting for him. I want the volume. I don't know what he's going to do with it. I kind of smell a touchdown somewhere in there. So I'm going with it with Tyler Warren.
This is the highest over-under on the slate, by the way. Rams, Colts. And the thing about the offensive touches for the Colts is there's only 3 branches on that tree, right? It's him, Pittman, and Jonathan Taylor. I mean, obviously, Danny Dimes, right? Or sorry, Indiana Jones is the new nickname. Obviously, he's touching the ball a lot, right? And he steals some touchdowns running them in. But the volume of passes and touches outside of him, that's all there is. They're not going anywhere else. Downs is useless. I mean, he's a good player, I think, but they're not using him. So the consolidated tree helps so much in fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, Alex Smith is getting some deep ball targets. He's had 10 over the last 2 weeks between Denver and Tennessee, 8 catches. But again, he's not scoring touchdowns. That's Tyler Warren's territory. And Tyler Warren is the most reliable option in this offense. And as Dimes gets going, I think this only increases Tyler Warren's value in fantasy. But this is a week I'm really in on him. The Rams matchup, like we said, this is going to be a shootout. And I mentioned this matchup yesterday on my show with Casey as being my favorite game on the slate this week because I think it's going to be so high scoring.
Yeah, it's going to be
I know, and I want to see if Dimes can do it against a better team. This is an all-around better team than anybody they've faced so far. This is a team that looks like they're the best defense they faced. Yes. Well, yeah, Denver's shown that maybe their defense isn't as good as we thought. So this will be a good test for him, and I'm excited to see it.
We'll put quotes around it. Right now, it appears to be the best defense they've played.
Yes.
Things change.
Yes. Yeah. All right, folks, we're going to get into our 3 defenses here for this slate, and we will get you on your way. The 3 that we have got pegged to talk about right now, we have got the Bears defense at the Las Vegas Raiders. DraftKings $2,900, $3,700 on FanDuel. Then we have the Houston Texans against the putrid Tennessee Titans offense. $3,400 on DraftKings, $4,400 on FanDuel. And last but not least, the Carolina Panthers defense against the New England Patriots. $2,500 on DraftKings, $3,200 on FanDuel. Mike, I want to bring up the Panthers defense against New England first because they looked good last week. They look a lot better than I expected against Atlanta. You think they can continue this against New England?
I think they can because New England coughs up the ball and allows 4 sacks per game. So I think with that in mind, there's points to be had here, right? I don't know if they won't fumble the ball 5 times again this week, right? People will lose their jobs if they do. But I also don't expect the Panthers to get 22 fantasy points this week. So, there will be a fumble probably. You can expect to see like 4 or 5 sacks as well. They get after it, the Panthers, believe it or not. I mean, and $2,500 on DraftKings, $3,200 on FanDuel. The prices, you don't want to pay up for a defense if you don't have to. So.
No, and this just from a cost perspective and an opportunity perspective, this is a great play, Mike. Now we've got the Texans at Tennessee. We already talked about how much we dislike this offense. We dislike it enough, apparently, I know I do, to play the Texans defense at $3,400. Again, this is a pay down. You know that there's a relatively safe 8 to 10 point floor with this defense. Why spend up when you don't know what you're going to get from some of these other defenses? I like this call a lot.
Well, and we had the Colts against the Titans last week, and look what they did. And I know their defense is good. Okay. The Texans defense is more scrappy than people think. They have 9 sacks on the season, by the way. The Titans give up an average of 5 a game. That's what they give up. The Colts, we mentioned it last week. The Colts hit it last week. The Texans are pretty scrappy. They'll probably get those 5 sacks or more this week too, right? So this is a great place for a pay down where you can expect like you should expect to get that 10 to 15 points out of this defense with these.
Yep. The last one, the Chicago Bears against the Las Vegas Raiders, $2,900, another pay down. But again, this is a defense I expect to be in that 10 to 12 to 13 point range. They're going to get a sack on Geno Smith because Vegas's line isn't good, really. Not at all. Which has affected Ashton Jaunty, obviously. But I expect some sacks. I expect some mistakes from Geno Smith in this offense. I could even see a fumble here or there. And I like this play a lot. I like it a lot.
The Raiders give up sacks and interceptions. You summed it all up. I'm not going to talk about it any more than that. That's what they do. The Bears should get some. So if you wanted to pay for the Bears at 2,900, they've eclipsed 11 points twice this season. Fantasy, this will probably be a third time for them to get into double digits. Matchups matter, right?
Oh, especially in DFS, when you're new lineup every week, you're hyper paying attention to a lot of these matchups. This is a good one and a really good opportunity to pay down and spend up on guys that we talked about earlier, like Josh Allen, James Cook, Emeka Egbuka is a little bit up there, Christian McCaffrey. So when you get to these defenses and tight ends, we're giving these pay down people, you can spend up at the top. That's what we want to see. That's how you win. All right, everyone. Well, I want to thank you so much for tuning in and checking out the DFS show here on Optimus Fantasy Football. We will be back next Friday to give you plays for week 5. But before we get there, make sure you check out our Discord channel. We are there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to help you answer all of your fantasy, DFS, and betting questions. You can check out the link in the show description. It's free to join. Head on over to Discord today. We'd love to have you. And while you're at it, head over to tools.optimusfantasy.com. Right now, we are running a special 35% off your first 3 months of our premium tool set and data. Historical data going back to 2006, folks. 19 years of stats to help drive our tools. And if you sign up for the Gold Jacket package, 35% off 3 months, and you get into all of our new tools through the end of 2025. So if we add it, it will be part of your tier. And I've got a really sweet betting optimizer on the way and a DFS lineup optimizer too. So now would be the time to get in, guys. Again, the code is BYPOCALYPSE. You can see it up here at the top of the screen. Head on over to tools.optimusfantasy.com. Check that out. Mike, it's been a pleasure. Love having you here. I hope you have a great weekend. I know you're heading out of town, so enjoy the warmth, enjoy the sun in the fall.
I'll try.
I know you will, man. I know you will. For Mike Reedy, folks, I am Nate Polvogt. It has been a pleasure spending our Friday with you. Now go out and set some winning lineups, and we'll see you next week.